Hey everyone, welcome back to Beautifully Complex. I am so thrilled to have Debbie Reber of Full Tilt Parenting here with me. We started our conversation on launching, which we both use air quotes if you're listening, around launching our neurodivergent young adults over on Debbie's podcast. So you can go over there and look up episode 474, which I will also link in the show notes for you. That is part one of this conversation. And we are now going to dive into part two, talking about scaffolding, how to scaffold support while also teaching the skills, the life skills that our kids are going to need to be more independent, and also talk about ourselves, our own nervous system, our own boundaries, our own needs, because they are just as important. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying, once you have kids, nothing else matters. And I just cringed. I was like, no, we're trying to stop that message. Debbie and I have both been working on trying to stop that message. And so
Totally.
you matter too, just as much. You deserve to feel good. And when you feel good, you can help your kid feel good, which then helps them to do good. So we're going to talk some about that too as we navigate young adulthood for our kids. Debbie, do you want to start talking about what scaffolding support means to you, and then maybe what it looks like now that your kid is in their 20s?
Yes. So I always like the visual of the scaffolding, like that goes up when there's a building right under construction or they're doing some repair work, that you build up these supports to keep everybody safe while the improvements are being made. And scaffolding, then once things are starting to look better, we slowly take down the scaffolding. And so that's just such a good visual. So that's what I think of it as with my kiddo. But yeah, so scaffolding is kind of like it's helping our kids learn, whether it's skills or on their own personal growth journey. And we talked in the last episode about, this idea of independence and those things. But whatever it is that they're working on to help them kind of progress so they don't get stalled and kind of stall out, it's finding ways to help them with our support make small, meaningful steps that they can feel a sense of agency over. But they also have us there in case things, go off the rails. Actually, one of the one of the terms that I really enjoyed lately is this guy, Chris Baum. He wrote this book called Finding the Magic in Middle School. I don't know if you read it. It's a really good book.
Perfect.
But he talks about this idea of companioning, and companioning is this idea that like our kids are on this epic adventure, and you think about like a Sherpa who goes along with someone who's climbing a mountain, and they're there. It's still the person's adventure, but the Sherpa's there to like carry some supplies, and like if they're going to step off the trail and gravely injure themselves, the Sherpa's there to support. And so that's being a companion. And I think scaffolding's like related to that. It's kind of remembering that this is our kids' journey and they have to have agency and control over their journey. And they also we can't just like be like, okay, you're on your own. Good luck. So we want to always be kind of finding that just right challenge. Like, where is there an opportunity? Where is there a little window here where there's a fledgling skill that we can kind of push along? So that's scaffolding, but I don't remember the second part of the question.
I'm going to add to that first, and then we'll go to the second part again, because I have often used the analogy of a Sherpa myself.
Oh, how funny.
And I love that. And I love that you added the safety piece to scaffolding, because I too think about scaffolding. We have built our own house before. We've had scaffolding and used it. And I often picture that, but I didn't necessarily think about how it keeps people safe. It keeps the workers safe who are on it. It keeps people who might be underneath it safe. And we know how important that felt safety is. And so I love that you put those two pieces together. And the Sherpa, yeah, like they have experience with it. They've done this before. They know where the pitfalls might be. They can give you some guidance. But like it's still your journey. You're still having
Yeah.
that experience and you're still saying kind of what works for you and what you want and where you want to go. And I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. And the term companioning is fantastic.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does scaffolding look like maybe now for you guys or since transitioning more from like teen and high school into other things?
Well, there's a lot more scaffolding than I realized there would be at this point. Um, going back to in our first part of this conversation, we were talking about our expectations for what launching would look like versus what it actually does look like. And so I think when it comes to scaffolding, and we don't have to I'm not going to beat that analogy to death and, I'll stop talking about buildings, but
I
you guys
love
know what I'm talking about.
analogies.
But, I think there is a sense that some of the scaffolding is going to come down, like when our kids are kind of moving forward and it'll be kind of maybe less sturdy and they're, it's just going to be, it's going to look and feel different. And so in reality, there's still been a lot of scaffolding for us. It's hard sometimes to find that just right balance. Again, going back to this idea of individuation, or if you have kids who have such a strong desire for autonomy. So a kid with more of a demand, I don't like the term pathological demand avoidance, but rather persistent desire or drive for autonomy. When you have those kinds of kids who really want to be doing things on their own and push back against demands, the scaffolding becomes really tricky to navigate with a young adult because it has to be much more collaborative, right? It has to be, I think when our kids are younger, there's a lot of behind the scenes scaffolding our kids don't even know about, right?
For sure.
We're just building it all the time. We're taking it down, we're building it back up, and we're just always monitoring. When our kids are older, I think they have to be a lot more involved in understanding what you're doing, what are they comfortable with, where do they specifically see or feel that they need support, and then what are we willing to do to support. So the scaffolding is this very collaborative process, and I think we're still scaffolding on all of the things. We're scaffolding on life skills, right? Even, I'll just give you an example. The first semester that my kid was away, we, there's no, there's a food plan there, but there's no dinner served on Saturday and Sunday nights in the residence hall. So I'm and my kid is in the UK. So I'm getting, the app on my phone, texting with my kid, what would you like? Because, there's conversion and there's putting in a credit, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And so I would get my kid's order, then I would do the app from here in the Netherlands to the UK. And then I'd give my kid's cell phone number. And then I'd have to text, this is the code for the delivery person. What's your order? They're out of this. It was so much back and forth. Right. But I wanted my child to eat. And at the time, it was too heavy of a lift, right? Between doing all of the other life skill development stuff. So, but then after that first semester over Christmas break last year, I was I think we need to put that up on your phone and I'm going to show you how to do it. And so the first time that my kid ordered, back at school in the spring semester, I got a note where should I get food from? I'm I don't know. What are you hungry for? But my child did it and kept me updated. I did this. What do I do now? Should I add a tip? All those questions.
Yep.
And now here we are a year later and I don't even know what my child eats on a Saturday or Sunday night, but I know they're eating. So that's a little example of what it looks like. So it's all the things, but it's maybe kind of bigger, more independent things that I didn't realize were going to be coming up.
And I can hear parents saying, you shouldn't be doing that for your kid, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm hearing from you is that you offloaded some of that load and you sort of faded out support.
Mm-hmm.
So you figured out that they couldn't do everything from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And you took a piece of that you could help
Yeah.
with the intent from the beginning that it would go back on their plate at some point when
Yes.
they had the capacity and the ability to manage it successfully.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the first semester, that might have sent them off the rails on a Saturday
Yeah.
evening, right? Like, oh
Totally.
my gosh, I can't even
Yeah.
manage this. So
Yes.
we're never saying that we are going to forever do something for our kids. We're never saying that they're never going to learn. We're just honoring their timetable, right? And we're
Yeah.
honoring where they are and what they need in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it stressed me out hearing you explain that process of things you were doing. But like, I can totally see that there have been times where that would be something that I would need to do and take it
Yeah.
on because we've figured out where that line is between doing too much for them
Mm-hmm.
and doing what they actually need, I think.
Yeah. Although the line is always changing, to
Of
be fair,
course.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's and it's lines that we didn't even know were there. Like I didn't realize that like getting food on a Saturday night was going to be something that I was going to have to like consider support around and work with my kid around, right?
Right.
So I think that's one of the things too. And I'd love to hear what kind of things found you've had to scaffold for that you weren't anticipating because I literally didn't give that a moment's thought. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna teach my kid how to like order takeout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but there's so many little things like that. There's so many demands. Once you're, especially, my kiddo is in a university setting in a different country with a whole different bureaucratic system and that taxes my executive function. I'm like, oh
For
my
sure.
goodness, like I didn't predict all of this stuff. So it's just an ongoing surprise. Like, oh, something. This is a whole other thing. Let's figure out a plan for this.
Mm-hmm. It's an ever moving target. Like
Yes.
I got okay a long time ago, or at least accepted that it's an ever moving target. And when we finally seem to get some headway on something else will come in that needs scaffolding and support and attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
when one of my kids went off to college, I got a text the first time they were doing laundry. How do I do this? And I'm like, well, you did laundry at home.
Yeah.
There are big posters on the wall, but there was such a habit of just
Yeah.
asking mom, right? And so we had to work
Mm-hmm.
on pulling back on that and doing like you just said, like, okay, well, what do you think is the first step? Like, I learned not to start problem solving, which is my nature. My first instinct is to
Mm-hmm.
solve and fix right away and do it
Yeah.
for whoever is in front of me, stranger, kid, anyone. Like, that's just the way
Mm-hmm.
I'm wired. So I've
Mm-hmm.
really had to learn how to say, okay, what do you think?
Yeah.
And not
Right.
give an answer.
Yeah.
With my neurodivergent kid, there have been just a lot of things that I kind of sit in on. So if he needs a doctor's appointment, he can bring his phone. We'll sit together. At first, I'll say, these are the things you need to say or ask for. And then I'll
Mm-hmm.
be here if I'm needed to sort of
Mm-hmm.
walk through that more or to offer guidance. Um, I'm still the driver. The last time he went to the doctor, she called me, "Are you his driver?" I'm like, thanks for reducing me to nothing. God. She was not awesome anyway. She was really berating him about being 22 and not taking care of himself and is not our regular doctor, so she didn't know, but still it wasn't okay. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so, I still have to always take that role because we don't
Mm-hmm.
have public transport where we are. You can't, like, he'd have to walk 2 miles just to grab a bus, and the bus only goes very limited places. So we
Yeah.
just don't have that opportunity. And so because I can be flexible and take that on, he doesn't go to a lot of places. He works with his dad now. So dad just, they go to work together, they come home together, which is a relief to me because when he had a different job, I had to take him and pick him up and stuff too. And it took a lot of my time. But just knowing that there are some things that just are my role right now until he
Mm-hmm.
gets more comfortable driving and gets his license,
Mm-hmm.
that's a role that I'm taking on, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Um, because I know that he just needs more time to be
Yeah.
comfortable driving. He's anxious about it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other things where I'm like, okay, why don't I like fill out that paperwork for you? Because he has dysgraphia. His handwriting
Mm-hmm.
is really difficult. And he'll say, no, I need to learn how to do this. And he will do it himself. And he will slow down enough that someone can read it and do what he needs to do. And it surprises me. And I think we talked in part one about sometimes they surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're ready to give more support than they need.
Yeah.
And it is so crucial to get their buy-in at this
Mm-hmm.
age. We
Yeah.
have to ask, what do you need? What do you want? I was just answering a parent email before we got on about my kid is struggling in college. It's year 3, but they're passing, but I think they need to drop one of their classes. It's just too much. It's too much stress. Should I go over there and like make all this stuff happen? And my
Mm-hmm.
first response was, what does your kid want?
Yeah.
We have to bring them into these conversations, right? If we
Yes.
don't, the pressure of us trying to manage it is dysregulating.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be less successful. They're going to tune us out, right? They're not going to take our calls. They're not going to answer our texts. They're not going to want us to be part of it.
Were you in my apartment today? Because, yeah.
No, but I've been there, right? Like I've so been in these situations too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, and what's tricky about that scenario you just shared, the email that you were just responding to is like, we go talk to our kids and they may say things that they may say, no, actually, I can do this. I want to do this. And we might be like, oh gosh, I don't, we might see this is not necessarily going to play out the way that you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to pre-rescue them. We want to like swoop in and prevent the failure, the setback, whatever, because we also have experienced significant setbacks with our kids or seen what happens when something doesn't go well for them. And we want to prevent that from happening. So it is really tricky when our kids have a vision. But I agree, we have to ask them, and it has to be on their terms when they're young adults. And if they decide, no, I think I can do this, I don't want to drop the class, I can do the thing, then our job as the companion, the Sherpa, is like, okay, I hear this is what you want to do, and I respect that this is your journey. Let me know how I can help. And that's really the best that we can do. Like we can't, if we try to do more than that, we are going to potentially damage our relationship with them because
Mm-hmm.
we're going to become this like controlling person. And that is not what a young adult who's individuating needs or wants
Mm-hmm.
in their world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not what they need, because if they don't figure out how to work it out themselves, they are
Yeah.
not learning those skills. They are not able, right? When we jump in and try to rescue, we're preventing
Mm-hmm.
growth. I was
Yep.
listening to an episode of the Good Life Project this morning with Dr. Lisa Damore, and
Mm-hmm.
she was reiterating this. They were talking about teens. They had a couple parents of young adults who are in college on asking questions. And she's, one of the worst things we do for our kids is we rescue and we try to fix and we try to prevent. And growth only happens through struggle, through difficult things, through figuring it out yourself.
Yeah.
But I want to sort of turn to this idea of letting our kids fail. And again, I'm like air quotes over here. I can't say it
Mm-hmm.
without doing it.
Yeah.
Because so many parents will ask me that question. Do I let them fail? Is this the time I let them fail?
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to get your
Mm-hmm.
opinion on letting kids fail. I certainly have a strong opinion about it, but I want to hear
Mm-hmm.
yours first and then I'll share.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to Jess Leahy and her book, The Gift of Failure, which she writes a lot about this. Yeah, I mean, I guess I hadn't thought of that language, letting kids fail. I don't think it's failure. Like, I think failure is the wrong word.
Hmm.
I think just what you said, um, there is, this is our kids' journey, full stop, right? Anytime we are over, of course, we want our kids to find their way. Like, we want that so much. We love these kids so much. We would do anything for them. And we want them to create lives of purpose and meaning so they can feel fulfilled, right?
Yes.
That's it. That's the
Yes.
big dream, the goal. So we want that. And then we have a kid who is making choices or is like kind of progressing or doing things that we can see, oh, this is not going to lead to that out. We think this is not going to lead to that outcome that we want for this child. First of all, we can't predict the future. We have
Hmm.
no idea what this kid's journey is meant to look like or what is going to be the thing that really clicks for them, if it clicks, right? And it is completely out of our hands.
Hmm.
It's out of our hands. So, yeah, so I would say we're not letting our kids fail. We are honoring that they're on their own journey, that we get to be this important person in their life, that we get to be in relationship with this beautifully complex human who's on an incredible journey. And we get to like live this life together, and it's messy and it's all of those things, but it's their journey. We're on our journey too. We're in it every day. We're still doing
We're
our own
still in
work,
it.
right? So yeah, I would say we're not letting our kids fail. We're honoring their journey, and we're showing up to support in ways that we can.
Yeah. And while failure is a teaching tool, pulling back all support
Mm,
and allowing it to happen in that way is
mm,
not a teaching tool. It is not going to lead to growth. And I always
correct.
think about, what is the message we're sending? Because my kid taught me years ago that he hears what I say in a different way. So,
Mm,
like when I said, let's sit down and do your homework together, I think we should do it together. He heard, Mom doesn't think I can do this.
yeah. Hmm.
And that was huge. Like that really stuck in my gut.
Yeah.
And asking that question, then, if I just say, okay, you're on your own, I give up,
Hmm.
your kid may hear, my mom just gave up on me. My
Yeah.
parent doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right. And that is so damaging.
Hmm.
So being really conscientious of the message that they're receiving, whether or not it's the one we intend or send, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, we can honor that they don't want as much help from us. We can say, okay, we're giving too much help. It's enabling. We need to pull back, but we need to fade support while
Hmm.
still providing opportunities for success.
Yeah.
Just letting a kid fall on their ass and fail and like be in this pit of despair, like that helps no one.
No.
That term drives me nuts. And it is a traditional way of doing things. If kids are
Hmm.
really not into school, a lot of people tell you, well, just let them figure it out, let them fail. Then
Yeah.
they'll learn their lesson and they'll do better. But
Yeah.
that's not always true.
Well, it's definitely not true with neurodivergent kids
Mm-mm.
too, right? And I
No.
think that is, there's a lot of societal pressure to pull back supports quickly, and that, you shouldn't be doing all this. You're just like, you mentioned that experience with a doctor who was braiding your kiddo. Like, it's really hard because there are um, lots of messages like that.
I think this is a really good segue into talking about what we can like
Mm.
legally do for our young adults and what we can't. Because when they turn 18, at least here
Hmm.
in the United States, you can't advocate on their behalf anymore in a lot of places.
Hmm.
And it's really tough. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned in our part one episode, on my kid's 18th birthday, he quit therapy.
Hmm.
He was still in high school. he still needed my support. He still needed therapy, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't see the value in it anymore. And he knew it was his choice.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled back, right? And
Yeah.
in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, to me, it was almost like the floor fell out from under me. Like all the things that I was able to help with
Mm-hmm.
and being like in therapy sessions with him, which I could still do if he invited me in, right? But, his therapist couldn't come to me and talk to me about stuff anymore.
Yep.
They have to make their own doctor's appointments. They have to do all these things that
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like we should start preparing them for earlier or preparing
Mm-hmm.
ourselves for earlier.
Yeah.
Were there
Yeah.
shockers for you or things that kind of knocked you off course?
Yeah. I think those things certainly like not without, yeah, just kind of having different relationships with the therapist was one thing for sure. I think, we moved here and had to establish care for my kiddo, with both kind of general, practitioner, but also with mental health supports here in the Netherlands. And those are meetings that my kid has wanted me as part of those meetings because
Yeah.
I'm the one with like I know the whole history, right? And I can provide the dates and when this happened and when this met was, like all of those details.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, you know, that I very clearly was disinvited. Like we showed up to like a Zoom meeting together and the people that my kid was meeting with were like, yeah, so we don't want you here. This is for your kid. This is not for you. And I was like, okay. And I asked my child, I was like, are you cool? And I was like, yeah, I guess that's okay. And I just had to let it all go. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that it wasn't going to be accurate reporting and that there were going to be a lot of questions that would, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't my thing anymore. That was really hard, like to just, because I think behind the scenes, and you're probably, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but my hunch is you're doing a lot of this stuff too. Like there's a lot of like behind the scenes, like coordination of care and like making sure prescriptions are sent in for the right things. And like there's a lot of moving pieces and kind of being the manager of someone else's healthcare journey. If it's more complex, it's a lot. And so
Mm-hmm.
to be kind of kicked out of that, that was it was hard.
Yeah.
And I also had to realize like ultimately, yeah, like this is stuff my kid does need this is important stuff. And this is stuff, especially if there's medications involved, our kids need to eventually learn how to call in a prescription or how to even have the wherewithal to be like, oh, I'm running low. I should make sure that I have, more meds being called into the pharmacy. Like those are important skills. And I think for me, the stakes have felt so high, like, well, we can't run out of this thing or
Yeah.
like, oh, hell's gonna break loose. So
Yeah.
I've just like micromanaged some of those things. And so that is an area of growth for me that I'm still very much working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When my kid did start therapy again, about a year ago, maybe 9 months or a year ago, decided on his own he could use it. He had to make the call, right, and schedule. And he wanted me to come to the first appointment with him and be in there with him. And so we went in, we sat down. His therapist is neurodivergent. He specializes in neurodivergent. And he was really confused by me being there
Mm-hmm.
with a 22-year-old kid. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you sort of got these things. And he's like, so you just want mom here for moral support? He's like, I've never had a 22-year-old bring a parent in a session before. And I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like I've always done his therapy with him. I don't now. I just did the first one and he
Yep.
does it on his own now. But like he was meeting somebody new. He knew that it was a process to navigate that he wasn't certain of. And he just wanted moral support, talking about some hard things in his past that he needed to share so that this new therapist, understood what was going on and some of what was kind of fueling some of his emotional turmoil. And like, I was just so floored that he was surprised by me being there and being supportive.
Mm.
When we went to get his permit, the lady at the desk at the driver's license place yelled at me that she was not talking to me.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
she was asking for things and he didn't understand. And instead of standing there and watching them go 10 rounds and still not getting to what they needed, I
Yeah.
just answered a question. And
Yeah.
she was like, no, you are not welcome here. She told me to stand back behind the line and go away. It's just
I
like,
mean, I had a similar situation with a urgent care place in Brooklyn last year. And yeah, I was like in the room and I was like responding to some questions and she was like, I'm sorry, why are you talking to me? Like this is not about you.
I
Your child
know.
is many years old. And I was like, yeah, but I think that is one of the things that's really hard. And just to set expectations for listeners, like not only do we have to do our own work on scaffolding and figuring this stuff out and like resetting expectations for these rites of passage, these kind of life skill things, but we are always going to be confronted by people in society who do not get it,
Hmm.
who aren't going to necessarily see our kids the way that we've kind of ensured they've been seen by the adults in their lives. And that's really hard. That's something that we have to kind of like find peace with the fact that our kids might be misunderstood if we're not there to kind of bridge the gap, and then deal with the feelings that come up when people call us out. And then, I don't know about you, but I had to like really do some thinking after that. Like, Emma, should I have stepped back? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I think this
Yeah.
stuff is really confusing.
It makes us feel like we're doing the wrong thing. We
Yeah.
know we're filling a need. We have history with this kid. We know, their story, and yeah, and it just makes you question all of it.
Yeah.
But my questioning these days is pretty short. I'm like,
Good. Good
ouch,
for you.
but I know that, like I know
Yeah.
my kid. I know what's
Yeah.
going on here. There have been times where I've overhelped, I've overstepped, or I got it wrong. Like I was just trying to be empathetic and I got it all wrong. And my kid
Hmm.
wouldn't talk to me for a few days. Like,
Hmm.
and that doesn't feel good for us.
Yeah.
It's information. It tells us, keep thinking about their boundaries, whatever. But
Hmm.
how do we navigate to the point where we're not taking it so personally? I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. I mean, when you find out, please let me know. No, I mean, seriously, like this has been the hardest part for me is it can feel like I'll just share my personal experience, like this stuff feels intolerable, right? When we
Mm.
have a rupture, like that, as you just described, because, the same things happened to me. I pushed too far. I've tried to like micromanage a situation. I've done all the things I know not to do, but I have pushed ahead anyway
Yep.
because I just couldn't let go of my attachment to this specific outcome. And it doesn't ever go well. Then I feel bad. Then I'm worried I screwed up my relationship with my kid. Then I get anxious. And we don't have control, right? So, um, in the case of a kid who's not living at home, like I have to just sit with all those feelings and I don't really like doing that. Like I have to just be like, oh, I guess I'm just being iced out right now, and how am I going to tolerate that? Because it doesn't feel tolerable. So um, that has been where I've been really working hard. And it's not like this happens all the time, but just knowing our relationship has changed. Like our kids are separating, right? They are growing, this is all natural. It is completely natural for this to happen, and it happens with any parent of any child, right?
Hmm.
We're gonna kind of get like entangled, right, with them. And so for me, that is the skill I'm just working so hard on. What can I do in the moment? Like, even just to notice, like, oh, okay, now I'm in this situation. I used to be like, I can't stand this. Like, I can't, this is too much. It's too painful. I can't do this. How am I going to do this? Why did I have children? Like, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
It's too much. And it still doesn't feel good. I still feel like initially when these things happen that it feels intolerable, but I also have a lot of evidence now. Well, actually, I can tolerate it. It's just unpleasant. I would rather not be dealing with this right now or feeling these feelings. But I try to rely on the tools, but that's what I'm doing in real time, is learning the tools and practicing with them. And when I have faster recoveries from these things, being a little proud of myself, and then I can tell my therapist, listen to what happened and listen to how well I recovered.
Yeah. The other feeling that sometimes comes up for me is anger. Like, I am your parent. Look at what I've done for you. I'm just trying to help. And you're icing me out like that.
Yeah.
But, and that's natural. It's not helpful, but it's natural. And we just have to work through that kind of thing and understand that, they also have feelings and take up space, and that's also the way it should be. And I've really been working hard. I don't know if there's a lot of evidence of how hard I've been working yet, but I'm still trying to ask, do you want my help or do you just want me to listen? Because as I said earlier, my wiring is immediately like, I don't even know it's happening until I'm halfway in it, fixing, helping, trying to offer solutions. Because I'm really working at not offering solutions, maybe giving a prompt that would help them come to a solution, and or asking, do you even want my help with this? Or you just, and I've had to learn that the hard way. I've had to learn that by overdoing it and being iced out and, going through those things and learning that way. But it's really hard to go against your nature sometimes, right? Like, we want to honor our kids' wiring. Well, we have wiring too. And sometimes our instincts really are strong.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll just share this metaphor that my sister was telling me about the other day. This idea that we're playing tennis, we hit the ball, right? And then sometimes we're running to the other side to hit it back to us when it's really our kid's job to pick up the racket, and so we really need to kind of stay on our side of the court. We need to just kind of honor what this is going to look like. I love, what you're doing, asking for help. I use a lot of declarative language now. So if you listeners aren't familiar, Linda Murphy wrote the Declarative Language Handbook. And with my kiddo, even asking, saying, would you like my help, can feel demanding sometimes. So it's like, I have some ideas, or I'm available. If that would be helpful, just let me know. Right. So I try to just create this environment where, or I might say, I'm going to be working all afternoon. I know you have some schoolwork. Let me know if you want my Zoom link and we can co-work and body double or something. I'm around if you need me. But I try to leave it pretty low key. And I'm always very, I do get excited when the invitation is accepted and my child will accept my help, but that doesn't happen that often. But yeah, it all has to be permission based, and it all has to be on their terms, even though we often have the solutions or the right strategies or the ways we've hacked ourselves to figure this stuff out. We want to save our kids all the years of trial and error and struggle, but the invitation's everything.
And I've learned from my neurodivergent kid to say, I see that you're having a hard time. I am here if and when you want to talk to me, and walk away, which is another thing that was really hard. But that has actually worked out. My fear was always that he would never share with me. He would never get help when he needed it, right? He'll come and talk to me every single time when he's ready. And he does want my help sometimes. He does ask for my input, or he just wants me to listen. And that has really changed our relationship. You know, the other way feels like a lot of pressure and a lot of like, my parent doesn't think I measure up or my parent doesn't think I'm capable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we just say, I'm here, I'm happy to support, these are the ways I can support you, if they're open to even hearing that much, and just waiting. You know, Seth Perler taught me, put it out there and wait, however long it takes. It
It's
can
like so
be
long.
so long. Like we always want to fill pauses. We want to
Yeah.
fill, and they get uncomfortable when they're long.
Yeah.
But there's so much more magic in waiting and
Yes.
silence.
Agreed. And I also want to say, to add to that, I wrote down a note as you were talking that we need to really let go, not fake let go. So,
Mm,
you know, we can say like, yeah, like I'm here if you want to talk whatever, like, and act like we're all cool. We got, it's fine. We're not invested. But if we still are really like have this energy that's like grasping, like, you know, if they can sense that we really need them to come talk to us, they won't come talk to us. So
mm-hmm,
part of the under the hood work for us is really genuinely meaning it when we walk away, not doing it out of anger or like showing how strong we are, but really being at peace with the fact that like, hey, I am here. I love this human. I am here if they want my insight, my advice. If they want to share with me, I'd be so honored if they come share with me. And I'm okay if they don't, because this is their life, right? Um, that's where we want to ultimately be, because that feels like freedom. That feels like freedom for our kids. It feels like
mm-hmm,
freedom for us. And that's when our connection can just get so much more authentic and stronger, I think.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. When we can just be there without an agenda. When it's
Yeah.
genuine connection, it changes the relationship. It helps their nervous system. You know, what you were talking about is when you don't really let go and there's that energy, that's our nervous systems sort of talking to each other, right? We're putting out a certain energy. We might be trying to hide it, but it's still felt. It's still there. It's still in the air. I love that
Yeah.
you added that because I think it's really important. We are way out of time.
And we're just scratching the surface.
We
There's
have so
so much
much
to
more to
talk about.
talk about. So hopefully we'll do maybe a part 3 and a part 4. But I think it's been like having these conversations with you has been truthfully liberating for me to
Yeah.
just be completely open and honest. We don't have it figured out. We, I mean me and my family. I'm not speaking for you. We don't have it figured out. We're working on it, but we have the solid foundation that we need to be able to be what my particular kid needs me to be for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, right? I have
Yeah.
problems where I have times where the emotions well up and I freak out and I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing or maybe I'm failing him. But for the most part, I think we've worked all these years on building that foundation by noticing the nervous system, by seeing behaviors, communication, all these things. And we've worked on connection and relationship. And so we'll figure it out. Like I know that we'll figure it out. It's all going to be okay. But just being
Yeah.
really transparent in these conversations has been such a relief for me.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
feel
big
the same.
exhale.
I feel the same. And if I can just add, like, I don't remember the exact situation this summer, but I had a conversation with my kiddo that I feel like I had been wanting to have in some capacity for like 4 years. And
Mm,
it happened. And it was such an important moment for me. And I just felt like, all of this stuff that we're doing, all the stuff that your listeners are doing, the way we are getting curious about ourselves, we're showing up for our kids, we're doing the work, we are in this, right, with our complex kids. It all pays off. Like it's not
hmm
about when, it's not, we don't know when, the timeline, all of that stuff, but all of it matters. And I came out of that conversation. I'm like, we are playing the longest possible game here. But
hmm
then you have moments like that and you're like, oh, but it's totally worth it. Like And it was a conversation. It wasn't like we like, solved some mathematical whatever. It was like
Right.
it was a beautiful moment of connection and relationship that just felt so special. Like I'll never forget that conversation, right?
Hmm.
Um so all the stuff that we're doing, this is what we're working towards, right? It's just a very long game. And, I hope that that's helpful for listeners to think again, when the timelines are so unconventional, it's hard to, we want to see results. We want to know that
Hmm.
things are moving in that direction. And so just to kind of maybe reset what success looks like and what we're working towards can be helpful.
Yeah, for me, success in parenting is the relationship that I have with my kids, especially
Totally.
now that they're older. They could run off and cut me out. I
Hmm.
don't want that. And I'm glad they don't want that, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult when you have young adults who are still at home and, it's a totally different dynamic. And like when we bought this house, these kids were small. We never imagined being four adults in this house and how it
Hmm.
really doesn't work for us now,
Hmm.
but we never thought about it. But like having the relationship that I want with them feels like the biggest win in parenting.
Yeah.
And the other stuff eventually is going to work out. We're going to
Hmm.
work at it. We're going to work
Hmm.
on it, right? But
Hmm.
it's going to
Hmm.
work out because we have that connection, we have that relationship. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a relief too, honestly. It's a big relief.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, if you are listening to this episode, please go to parentingadhd and autism.com to get the show notes. We will link up to part 1 of this conversation. If we have more future parts of this conversation, I will be sure to link them up for you there as well. And I really thank you for listening. And Debbie, I thank you for coming as your authentic self and sharing all the hard, uncomfortable bits. It's been so much fun to just be so real.
Yeah,
I
I don't
appreciate you.
really, I appreciate you too. Like I wouldn't, yeah, it's like you're like, I don't know. I just want to share and open up with you. I think we have,
Mm,
it's nice that we're in this together,
yeah,
in so many ways. So thank you for the conversation. It was great.
awesome. I will see everybody in the next episode. Take good care.